The third person I ever had to forgive was my dad. And this one's kind of awkward because my dad watches my content. Hey, Dad. So I was 19 years old when I officially met my dad. I caught a Greyhound bus and I went to go see him. And at the time, in my phone, I had my dad's name as donor. I don't even know if I put my donor. I think I just put donor, right? Anyways, I go, I meet him. It was cool. I thought we were cool. I come back home from my trip. I go to church, and the pastor is talking about forgiveness and who we need to forgive. And I'm just sitting there like, I ain't going up to the altar today. I'm cool. I done forgave everybody. And then I feel what I like to say, a spiritual little tap on the shoulder, and God starts speaking. And he starts telling me, you need to forgive your dad. And I literally, outwardly responded, what you mean? We cool. And God begins to tell me, no, you don't call him dad. Now, I'm not saying if you don't call your dad, dad, that means you are holding unforgiveness, okay? It could be your own thing. The thing is, God knows me, and he knew that I was not calling my dad because I felt like he was unworthy of it, and I felt like, I was holding all these things against him. So anyways, the days begin to pass, right? And God is continuing to deal with me about my dad. And eventually, God tells me to write a letter of forgiveness, forgiving my dad for, everything. So I started writing this letter. And before I know it, I'm writing things on this letter that I didn't even realize that I was holding on to. For example, in trigger warning, my innocence was taken at a very young age. And I included that in the letter to my dad. First of all, telling him that it happened. And then also telling him, I forgive you because I blamed you, for not being there. You could have protected me. Just all these things that, who's to say that couldn't have still happened if my dad was in my life. But it was things like that. Things that had nothing to do with my dad. And I still was not realizing that I had been holding him accountable to things. So anyways, I write this letter. Not only do I write this letter, I send it to my dad, okay? So I send this letter to my dad, and there's a plane going over my house, so if y'all hear it, I'm sorry. I send the letter to my dad. He gets the letter. He ends up calling me about the letter. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like his response. I didn't like his response because I felt like he was coming at me more of a defending himself space rather than a I'm sorry, I apologize kind of space. However, as I've matured and I've grown, I realize, well, the way that you wrote the letter, the response that someone initially wants to give is something to defend themselves about, especially if you are accusing someone of something that may not, they could not have changed or, whatever. His response was valid. Okay. But anyways, we get off the phone call, right? I hang up the phone and I'll literally God, why you tell me to write this stupid letter? I literally said that. I remember the day. And God's response was, first of all, when you wrote that letter and you put that pen down, which is true, it felt like an exhale to me. I remember it. I put the pen down. I was like, because I let it go. I didn't realize that I was holding on to all those things. And I truly felt better. I only just got angry after, my phone call with my dad. And then God proceeds to say, I told you to write that letter, but I did not tell you to send it to him. He ain't never lied. He sure did not tell me. And it was at a time too where God was really working on me with my obedience. And at that time, you need a play-by-play by me. And I was just moving ahead, doing my own thing. So I say that to say, write a letter. I think it'll be great for you. If you are holding on to unforgiveness, you want to forgive somebody, write a letter. But do not send it to them unless God tells you to do so.